Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships for today's video. And today's video is on discussing my top 5 least favorite premium ships in World of Warships that I possess and own thus far. So we're gonna hop right into it. Hopefully, it won't be a long video, more of a topical video, if you will. But the first ship on the list is the Tier 9 premium Japanese battleship, the Huntsman. I feel like I hope my memory's going to serve correctly here. But this was a ship that was available via a dockyard. And the dockyard ships have been rather hit and miss, depending on how things go with each ship that's released. Some have been good, and some have been and some have been bleh. This one's been kind of meh, like okay. What's kind of going on with this ship is that kind of one of the selling points is that they're giving you all these guns, right? So you get 12 guns. These are 12 410 millimeter guns. So it's kind of like a selling point they did with this ship. However, they have a longer than standard reload time. Like you can see, I even have reload built here with the 6 slot. And it's still 33.4 second reload time, even after taking the main battery modification 3. So as the ship has a longer reload time, if my memory serves correctly, it didn't have the greatest dispersion. You have 75,000 hit points, 20.3 kilometer range that can be extended out with the spotter. And then engine boost or engine speed of 28.2 knots. Concealment wise, I haven't fully spec'd into it because I'm trying to save some credits. I'm buying some more tier 10 ships for the Christmas event. But you would be getting it down to, looks like underneath 14, so 13 point something kilometers. But this ship just did not impress me. I mean, often to know whether a premium ship is good or not, even a tech tree ship, can sometimes be the question of, do you often see it in battle or not? The armor is actually not too bad. I mean, it's 32 millimeter across all the deck, 32 millimeter bow and stern, but with the exception of the stern that you have this 229 millimeter aft end armor plate. So you kind of somewhat encouraged to be maybe a little more kiting away per se. And then with the 356 armor belt along the side. Citadel, I have to remind myself where it's at. It's actually above waterline, but it's sloped. Well, which is a little bit interesting, and you kind of see almost sort of like a turtleback, but sort of not. So that just made this ship really interesting. But there's other tier 9 premium battleships. I would say like the Georgia that are just, and several others that are just better all around than the Huntsman. Huntsman is, in my opinion, a bit of a struggle bus. I don't know why they felt like they needed to make the reload so long. Like, for example, let's just go ahead and demount this. 38-second base reload time. I mean, that's pretty crazy to have that longer reload time on a battleship. So, with that driver and not at the most, it's not an accurate battleship. Of course, you have 12 guns, so you're throwing a lot of shade at the wall, if you will. So, yeah, it's just it's not the most impressive. I mean, I much prefer the Iowa over the Huntsman. So. This is the first ship on the list. The next ship, actually, we're going to go ahead and visit it. It's the another Tier 9 battleship, and that is the Marlborough. This was also another dockyard ship. Which they also sold like, look, you get 12 guns. And, it's not really tall superstructure, but pretty wide and beefy, but they sold it as, hey, you've got 12 guns, 356 millimeter guns, with actually a good reload time, 22-second reload time for as many guns as you have on this in comparison to Huntsman's 12 guns versus the 16 guns. And so they kind of presented this ship, with that reload time and these 356 millimeter guns. It's kind of more of a fire starter battleship. So it's kind of she doesn't tank well. She doesn't do I would say in particular task well. So if we look at the armor layout, it's 32 millimeter also. And then along here, it's 381. And we take away the armor, and that is the Citadel. It is a huge Citadel that comes way high over the water. I actually played against a Marlboro last night, I think it was. And you don't see them very often. And so, of course, he was doing his job and setting fires on me. But, you know, as soon as he was showing me too much side, you know, I was instantly getting Citadels out of him just because the Citadel is so massive and so vulnerable across this ship. I mean, even when you're, you know, a AP dive bomber like Malta, you suffer in the Marlboro for sure with that weak armor. The survivability 76,800, so roughly, I guess, sort of standard for a 209 battleship, maybe slightly on the lower end. But yeah, you had the 22-second reload time. The guns, you can see the HE shell damage is 4,800, AP shell damage 10,500. We just talked about the hit points. Your main battery firing range is 20.9 kilometers, and you don't get access to spotter planes. So sometimes this can be rather difficult in the beginning of a randoms battle playing the ship early on, because if you overextend too much, you're kind of like a tier 9 Thunderer that's not as good and doesn't have near as high a fire chance. Like Thunder is just all around better, in my opinion, than the Marlboro. You have their speed of 31.5 knots. Of course, you could bump up to 33.1 knot speed. But overall, this ship, I played it a couple times, and it just did not strike my fancy at all. It's a bit of a letdown, in my opinion. But I think this was the dockyard in which you got the Repulse, the tier 6 British battleship. That is really good. Really good. It's better. That ship was better than the actual dockyard selling ship. So this ship is just kind of bleh. I don't consider it very good. You don't see it very often, and you basically just play her as a fire starter. And I think she doesn't even have the best rear firing angles. Or to get the turrets farther forward, you have to actually show a decent amount of side, if my memory serves correctly. But the ship is really bland, and you know, it's just one I haven't played really since after it came out after the dockyard. So not pleased with it. The other, we're going to hit a battleship, then we have a cruiser, then a destroyer. The other battleship, which I just actually got, I have a video, I've already recorded it. It's going to be coming out in a week or two, something like that. I scheduled out in advance because I'm going to be away traveling, which I'll have a video about when I'm departing for travel. And I didn't have a fifth ship. I was like, I've got these 4 ships, and then I got the Yukon. I got a tier 7 premium ship container. And I played it. I took it out. And just overall disappointed with this ship. It really relies on your teammates to carry you, to be good, to actually find yourself useful. So this is the tier 7. So heaven forbid you find yourself in a tier 9 matchmaking. And so let me kind of hit upon why, I think there's 2-3 reasons why I just was not pleased with this ship. So first off, your reload time, you have 9 guns, but it's 31.5 second standard reload time, because you don't get access to the 6 slot to shorten that reload time. Hit point pool of 60,500, I think it's not too bad for a tier 7 premium. But it's the gun fire control system. It's the main battery range. Imagine playing a tier 7 battleship when you're facing tier 9s and your maximum main battery firing range is 15.7 kilometers before you take into spotter plane into account. So this ship really forces you to get close and personal, I would say, to make use of these, right? So you're trying to get within, let's say, that 15 kilometers, because you don't really want to get that closer. I mean, unless you're top tier, then you have a little bit more breathing room, let's say. But at the same tier, being bottom tier, this is just painful. Painful. Of course, you have your spotter plane action time for 100 seconds. So you often be using this. I wasn't necessarily impressed per se with the accuracy. I have to actually check to see what the main battery or the maximum horizontal and the maximum vertical dispersion is in addition to the sigma. Maybe I just throw it here at the bottom. But I wasn't too impressed with it. Even when you're looking at the shell, you have a 36% chance of causing fires on target, and that's actually with both of these combat signals mounted. And I was dealing the battle that I was bottom tier, and so you did get a lot of non-pins, armor shatters, non-pins with these 381 millimeter guns, especially at range. So you have to be mindful where you're targeting the ship at, especially an enemy battleship that's just going to be tanking with you if you're shooting at tier 8s, tier 9s. So it's really rather painful, in my opinion. The AP is okay. It's 11,900 maximum damage. But again, that's if your shells land and if you get the maximum penetration and, not overpins or something like that. So this ship, you feel rather limited as a player. I'd actually rather take like the King George V, the tier 7 British tech tree, because it actually has better range. It has a higher chances of starting a fire. And I think you get 10 guns, or you only get 9 guns here. But the 356 millimeters versus the 380s ones here on the Yukon. So I got the ship, and the battle I had, it went okay, but it was basically like my team helped me out a lot. But you're it's like with their range, they've designed this ship to be a brawler, but not like you don't even have torpedoes to deal with ships when you're up close. Even when you look at the armor, it's 26 millimeter bow and stern. Then you have some different plating along the casemate armor, the armor belt. You strip it away. It's rather similar to King George, if I remember correctly. Then you have a pretty wide citadel that's just sitting just barely above the waterline. So you feel pretty vulnerable in this ship. I mean, even tier 7, I think it's okay if you're strictly tier 7 matchmaking, but as soon as you become bottom tier, Yukon definitely struggles, and it is in definite need of some attention, like buff to the gunfire control system, having longer range, maybe having a stronger chances of causing a fire. I think should at least be over 40%. But you're not really drawn. And again, if you look, when you're playing randoms matchmaking, do you see the Yukon a lot? No, you don't see it a lot. Unfortunately, it kind of has a bad story tied to it. So enough with the battleships. We're going to pick on a cruiser this time. This is just my opinion. You're free to disagree with me. And the other ship I'm going to pick on, this was a dockyard ship, is the Anchorage. It's a tier 8 premium American cruiser. So if we go in and check it out here, you have, it's the 12. Make sure I'm right. Yeah, 12 203 millimeter guns. Not the same ones that you find on Des Moines. Have a long reload time of 15.5 seconds. 41,800 health. You actually get torpedoes with this, which I think helps this ship do better. In a 15.6 kilometer main battery firing range. And you can even increase that with a spotting aircraft if you wanted to. In speed of 33 knots, which of course you can buff up to something like 34.7 knots. Kind of one of the things that they revolved the ship around was the smoke screen, smoke generator. So you have an action time of 33 seconds, 104 second smoke screen dispersion time. So the idea is you get close in to deal with the enemy, somewhat so to speak. And I find myself running the Hydro before the spotting, spotter aircraft. But let's look at the armor. So you can see it's 27 millimeter, pretty much across the entire ship. But then once we get to the Citadel, it's definitely raised in the mid section. So it was nice that they didn't just extend this, standard like all the way up to the main forward battery turret and the rear, most rear battery turret. So it's definitely a weak point is in the middle. So you will definitely get clapped if you show broadside. The ship does okay in tier 8 matchmaking. But again, once you're facing tier 9, tier 10s, it's a real pain. You know, if you get stuck up against something like a Petropavlovsk. The torpedoes they gave this ship is you get 2x4 racks at 10.5 kilometer range. So that's nice. But if I remember correctly, they didn't have the best torp firing angles because you can kind of see they're stuck right in there. But they basically saw the ship around the smoke generator, and then also the hydroacoustic search. This is a ship I've taken more in operations. I think there's other tier 8 cruisers. Like, you know, I'd rather actually play the Baltimore over this because with Baltimore, I have a better range, or how do I say this? I have radar, where Anchorage is a little bit, feels a little bit more lighter of a ship. So Anchorage, for me, you know, yeah, it's an American ship. You know, maybe you can say I'm biased to American ships, but this ship is just, has been one of my favorite premium ships that I've owned so far. Maybe if they had the reload time down a little lower, it'd been nice, but, you know, these are 2 and 3 millimeter guns that can hit decently well, but it's just not a ship that you find, I have found myself as a player gravitating towards, so yeah, there's that one. The last ship I have on this list is a destroyer, and that's going to be a tier 7, and you can see I actually just ripped off all of the upgrades that I initially had on this ship. That's the tier 7 Bliskorica. I'm saying I pronounced that correctly. This is the ship I revisited it. It's been a little while ago. I'm still not really impressed with this ship. I think if I'm using the correct term, it's been power crept. I don't feel like it's as strong as contender as it used to be, as I just moved some commanders around on it and had this ship basically for the Christmas snowflake season. So you have a 6-second reload time. Your concealment, actually let's send him to reserve and let's put like a decent commander on him with concealment so we can get some more accurate values. But your concealment is 6.8 kilometers. That's the best you're going to get. You know, I'd rather play the Mahan than the Bliskorica. This ship in total, look at the artillery. It's kind of funny. So there's it's 3x2, and then you have a 1x1 here on the front. So 3 guns, 4 guns. So you have 7 guns total. So your firing power is in the rear of the ship. Your torpedoes are 8 kilometers, and they're pretty slow at 57 knots. But I mean, again, this is a tier 7 ship. In terms of her survivability, 17,950, which not bad. You know, we have survivability expert built on, so that helps. You know, but just, you know, 16 millimeter across. You know, wouldn't expect a lot of armor on a tier 7 destroyer. But this destroyer I've tried out several times, and just I've not been impressed with this destroyer. Just one I never play anymore. You smoke generator, you have standard engine boost plus 8%. So with your concealment 6.8, you know, with the torpedoes being 8 kilometers, just over a minute reload time, a minute 10 seconds, means you have this 1.2 kilometer window to play with the torpedoes, right? But go to maneuverability. But it does have decent speed, actually, I will say, for a tier 7 destroyer. 39 knots is not too bad. Your AA sucks on this destroyer, so you definitely don't play it for AA. And then artillery, the gun range is 12 kilometers, so not bad gun range for a 12 kilometer gun range. But this ship just gotta struggle with it because you have other tier 7s that have a better concealment, better DPM, better reload time. And this is a ship that just sucks if you get stuck bottom tier versus tier 9. So, you know, for me, if I have a premium ship, I want it to be able to do at least decently well. Caught out being bottom tier. You know, if I'm tier 7 versus tier 9, so I want my ship to at least do okay if that's how the matchmaking is going to go. But with the Blisk, it's just a real Debbie Downer. So that's my list of my top 5 least favorite premium ships within the game. As not too long ago we did, the top 5 favorite, which I'll link at the end of this video. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you kind of find some agreements here, if you also have these ships, or if your list of top 5 least favorite premium ships differs from mine a little bit. Have a good number, but of course there's even more premium ships to obtain in the game. But I try to get the ships for free, or via dockyards, or spending as ship resources, coupons, steal. So I'm not picking up very much because I don't give Wargaming a lot of money these days. So if you liked today's video, give a thumbs up. If you did not, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you subscribe, thanks so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.